Aren't you recording? Okay. And immediately there's a cat. Hi, Polly. Hi. Hi. You don't feature a lot in these because you don't like me. I can't pet her. If I do, she will try to bite me. Because the only living being that she likes is my partner, Ash. And Ash is gone. So Polly might be bugging me for attention, but I don't know that she really wants me to give it to her. So there she goes. All right. Anyway. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Kate if you're new. So that last video took a lot longer to get up than I expected it to. And we're gonna get into that today. So today is gonna be my yearly wrap up of my reading for 2022, a little bit of a life update for what happened to the rest of my year, and what I'm thinking about getting into for this next year. Most of my reading time, I'm realizing, is gonna be in the summer. I'm gonna show a little bit of like my reading stats over the month of the years. You'll be able to see that pretty much I started reading in spring, which was, I had a like extended like 3-week spring break, which meant that I got a lot of reading time done. And then I had summer break and I read a whole bunch. And then some stuff happened. So I went back to work in late August, and then like 2 to 3 weeks into a brand new school year at a brand new school with a brand new caseload that I'm just starting to figure out, my partner and I had to evacuate our house for 10 days while a wildfire threatened to burn it down twice. So that was fucking great. And you know, obviously, as you can tell, we're still in that house. It did not burn down. Thank all of the spirits above, but that was extremely stressful. Some might say traumatic even. And it just kind of laid us out for a while because I work at a preschool through 3rd grade primary school. So they're just adorable little plague vectors. They would bring in all these little viruses and then I would catch them because my immune system was just wrecked. I'm feeling like I'm maybe starting to turn a corner on that because we had that winter break and I feel like I was able to kind of recover from that a lot, but you know, we're still kind of dealing with that. So my reading has been definitely lessened. That mid-year check-in is honestly pretty close to a yearly wrap-up. Like I read 3 books the rest of the year and they were all Chinese novels. So specifically, I mean, we can get into it now, I guess. Oh, I haven't done a top 5. I don't think that's happening this year. Anyway, if I were doing a top 5, the Husky and his White Cat Shih Tzu would absolutely be in it. I mentioned this one last time, and then I got my dirty little paws on it, and I read it immediately. So, okay, we need to talk about this and Scum Villain, by the way. If any of you have read both of them, please come talk to me about this, because my best friend and I, who, you know, she's read more of this than I have, I think, and I were just making a lot of jokes about if I had 2 nickels for every time an overpowered protagonist got to relive his life and on the second time realized he was a lot more happy when he was dating his Shih Tzu, I'd have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Do they have a picture of him taking that? Yes, they do. Of course they do. Of course they do. If I had a fucking nickel. Yep, here we go. Okay, again, this is pretty early on. This is not really a spoiler. If I had a fucking nickel for every time the Shih Tzu taking a blow that was meant for the student is what caused the student to sort of start to realize their more romantic feelings, I'd have 2 fucking nickels. Anyway, essentially, Arha, the Husky and his White Cat Shih Tzu, is the serious drama version of the crack comedy that is Scum Villain. And I love both of them. I might love this one a little bit more. Also, like, you'll notice, look at the difference in these volume sizes. Arha be thick. Like, she thick, girl. I love it. It's so much longer. It's like, this you finish so fast. It's like just like a little nibble. Whereas this is like a full fucking meal. So much shit happens in this. I can't even talk about it. Volume 2 comes out like 3 days after I film this. I'm filming this in like mid-January. It comes out in like less than a week. Yeah, that I'm getting that immediately and probably reading it immediately. That's how it's going. I've also been continuing my read of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. There are 4 volumes out now. I have read 3 of them. I have not yet read book 4 because I am back to work now, and life is busy again. So we shall see. Probably spring break and then summer is maybe when these will happen. I might get to some of these beforehand, but Arha's going to come first, because that's where my priorities are. I did also read the Scum Villain, like, extras, and, like, there was some prologue stuff and some epilogue stuff and some, like, more romantic scenes with the two leads. It was a pretty good collection of short stories. It had more backstory of, like, a secondary pairing that I had not really cared about that much before, because I hadn't read really their story. I still don't super care a ton. They're not my favorite, but, like, they're fine as a background pairing. Some people are into them a lot more than I am. So anyway, as far as the rest of, like, the wrap up of the year goes, there's very little that I read in the year that I haven't already talked about. There was, like, one KJ Charles book that was the finishing of a trilogy. I think it was the Darling trilogy, because it's the last book is Subtle Blood. I'll put it up here, but it was in very early January. It had, like, continued from the previous year, so that was the only one I read. I also did read Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I didn't love it. Did I mention this already? I might have in my mid-year check-in. I can't remember now. I'm willing to give her another shot, but it was a little bit too self-aware and a little bit just, I don't know, saccharine? I don't know. Anyway. Oh, I read one other nonfiction that I didn't talk about, which was Polysecure by Jessica Fern. This was another one that my partner and I listened to on the recommendation of some of our poly friends. And, you know, some of them were talking about how it, like, changed their life, and I didn't experience that, but I did find it very interesting the way that she addresses attachment theory and the way that she, like, comes at it from, like, a trauma-informed position. So it does have things that are helpful even if you are not polyamorous. I can still recommend this book. And yeah, it was an interesting look at it. Oh, I also, hold on, I left it up there. Another one that I read that I haven't talked about is I read Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. A friend of mine had accidentally pre-ordered 2 copies of this, and so when she asked me if I wanted it, I was just like, yeah, sure. And then, so I read it. It was popcorn. It was fun. I will probably eventually read the second one that recently came out, but it came out in hardcover, and I don't think it is worth hardcover prices, personally. But, you know, I think it's maybe worth soft, like, paperback prices, and yeah, it was a fun little jaunt. Where did it go? No, it's over there. I don't want to get up again. So, future editing Kate, you're going to have to deal with this. I also read For the Wolf and For the Throne by Hannah Witten, the little duology that came out. I think the last one came out last year. This one didn't make it into my mid-year check-in, even though I had read it by then, just because it was kind of a little bit in that middle category of, like, it wasn't a big disappointment, but I didn't, like, super love it either. It did have fun stuff about, like, the malevolent, sentient woods, which is a trope that I've started to see, I think, more in fiction, like, lately, in the last, like, oh, I don't know. I'm just thinking about, like, Uprooted and Darkest Part of the Forest. I just kind of feel like we've seen it a bit lately. Anyway, I'm not opposed to it. It's a fun trope. But I didn't necessarily feel like this did anything super new. So it was a fun little romp, but it didn't, like, blow my mind. This one, well, yeah, what did I rate it? I guess I rated it 4 stars. I just read a lot of really good books last year, so it just didn't stand out amongst the crowd of really good books, but it was a good series. I rated it 4 stars, which means I enjoyed it at the time. But yeah, other than that is all that I read. In previous years, it's been a lot more mixed of, like, the how I'm reading, like, the form of it. Here's my graph for 2021, for example, but in 2022, I read 3 books that were audiobooks. I read 1 ebook, and everything else was physical. And I don't think I've mentioned this. I read 33 books. So 3 of them were audiobooks, 1 of them was an ebook, everything else was a physical book. And I'm kind of thinking that 2023 is going to be similar. So here's some stuff that I might be getting to. Obviously, I'm going to be getting to Arha. I've mentioned that already. But I did also finally cave and get Heavenly Official's Blessing. They're up to volume 5 now of, I think, like 8. This book is so long. I forgot when I read it on an ebook because I couldn't really see it, you know. It's so long. So much happens. I wasn't willing to get it in physical copy until they got past the everything is sad flashback sequence that happens. It's just a long, long flashback where everything is terrible forever. So we got through that. So I didn't want to end on that note, you know? Anyway, things are getting quite delightful in this one, but like we're still not done. Another one that is also like up on my list, and I've technically already started, is I did get back into the Locked Tomb. I have already finished Gideon the Ninth this year, and I have started Harrow the Ninth, hence why the jacket is removed. And, you know, obviously we'll be getting to Nona the Ninth very soon after that. There were a lot of lines in Gideon the Ninth that hit real different the second time, and I've already experienced so much of that with Harrow the Ninth that I've had to, like, pause. I was like, my little gay heart can't fucking take this. Anyway, I do really need to get to these, but Arha might be a little more gentle on my heart. It is rough, though. I forgot how like, sad their lives are in the beginning. Like, I know that things will turn out okay, but oh boy, does it start out rough. This one's happening. I think Alecto the Ninth is supposed to be released maybe this year. I will have to check that. But anyway, obviously, I'm going to be here until we're done with this series, because it hurts my little gay heart, and I need it. In case you were wondering, Polly is still here. All right, so some other stuff that I might get to, depending on how we're feeling and how much time I have on my hands in the summer, which will probably be a lot. For Christmas, I was gifted the entire trilogy of the Greenbone Saga. I had already read books 1 and 2, but it had been a few years since I'd read them, and I kind of felt like I needed a refresher before I got to book 3, so I waited until all 3 of them were out in paperback and then asked for them as a set, and so I got it, which was great. So I need to start with Jade City. It has been a while since I've read this one. I remember a few key scenes. I'm sure more will come back as I start to read it, but a lot of this book is gone. And then Jade War, I think I remember a little bit better, but it's also a lot longer, so who even knows? And then Jade Legacy is pretty thick, a little bit intimidating. That's also probably going to be emotionally devastating, we'll see. I made a couple trips to Portland in the last bit of the year because my brother and his partner and my mom are now all in Portland, which means that I went to Powell's a couple times. However, mostly I was there for other people, so the only thing I actually bought myself was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. Yeah, I know that this one is queer and I think non-linear, maybe? You know, it's like spy versus spy, except they're sapphics in love. So, it's nice and short. I feel like that could get sprinkled in there at some point. I also just have a few things that I've picked up on some trips to the bookstore, like Summer Suns by Lee Mandello. I've heard that this one is good for fans of the Raven Cycle, which I very much am. Yeah, if it's got that moody, queer, magic, twisted shit, then I'm probably going to be into it. We'll see. And, you know, the stuff that I didn't get to last year, I still want to read. It was just my ability to read very quickly plummeted, and I lost most of my time. Anyway, that's where we are. That's hopefully where we'll be. I am, again, like I said, not going to do a top 5 because really you got the idea of my top 5 for my mid-year check-in. Those were all of my highlights. But let me know how your year of reading went, and we'll see how long it takes me to get before I actually manage to upload this because it is January 22nd. You'll find out at the same time as me. Bye from me and Polly.